Hello.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the pod.
Happy to be here.
It's almost
Um,
Christmas. Woo.
when you guys are listening to this, it literally will be almost Christmas. Because that's how far ahead we are. And you know what? I am so proud of us for sticking to a schedule and not last minute texting each other like we do sometimes and be like, I can't do it today. Can you do? And then we just skip it. But this is also good because we can do that now, and I feel like we have a cushion, which is nice. But it's
And,
weird because in a timeline sense, we're in the future.
and it allowed us to plan a sneaky little Christmas surprise for you guys for the pod. So Jess is
Yeah.
processing. Okay. Do you remember this plan we made? We'll get
Me. Do I remember what we talked about? I actually don't, but you'll fill me in later.
Yeah.
Um, but before we get into sort of a special episode today, do you have a win?
What am I up to these days? I don't know. Everything, nothing. That's my brain in a nutshell.
I know. I feel similarly. It hasn't happened yet, but I did buy a punch pass to
Nice.
a CrossFit gym on Black Friday. They had a little sale, and I said I was gonna. Um, and then I almost immediately regretted it because I'm like, do you really want to? And I was like, no, no, you got to get out of the house.
Yeah.
You got to meet some people. So, I'm actually not going until tomorrow. I was gonna go today, but then I looked at the workout and I was like, no, not. And I know that for CrossFit people, you're gonna be like, yeah, but that's just cherry picking the workout. Yes, and I'm not ashamed of it
And I did it
because
anyways. So.
here's why. Here's why. Because I do lots of other things like running and lifting on my own and things like that. And if I just randomly go, inevitably it's going to be just a huge amount of volume of something that I just did, right? Like if I ran yesterday and I signed up for the workout today and I didn't look at it, it would be running.
Yeah.
And I looked at the workout, the one that was for today was like it was like snatch grip push press and like overhead squats, and I'm like, my shoulders are not ready. I told you guys I'm dealing with a little shoulder thing. Maybe that's not the vibe. It was also like a bunch of like burpee box jump overs, and that also I don't think my shoulder is ready for that kind of motion. Tomorrow's look better, so I'm gonna go tomorrow.
Love
It's
that.
fine.
Yeah, I said a while ago I was gonna commit to a yoga membership. I haven't because they moved. And they didn't move far, but they moved far enough that my brain's like,
Mm,
am I gonna actually go? Because here's my predicament living downtown. Is things that are the awkward, like slightly too far to walk but too close to drive,
yeah.
really just like don't mesh well in my brain. Because they moved from like 124th Street, without telling you guys where I live, 124th Street and Jasper to like 124th Street and like 108th Ave or something. Like they like moved like 10 blocks, and I'm like, oh, now it's not too far to walk, but in the winter, am I gonna want to walk like 10 blocks? But also driving downtown's annoying. So now I'm having
Well,
a little debate.
yeah, and was it hot yoga?
Mhm.
Because you're not gonna walk after hot yoga. You're gonna be pissed.
That's what I mean. But like the parking
Yeah.
around there is shit. So I'm like,
Yeah.
well, is that too much of like, especially with an ADHD brain, those little barriers will stop me from doing it. So I'm like, am I even gonna go now? Like when I could almost see it, I was like, great.
Yeah.
And then they moved, and I was like, why would you do that to me? So
Well, and truly, you're almost more likely to go somewhere that you do have to drive a long way to.
yeah.
Now,
Because now
you
it's just
might
like
as well.
awkward because I'm like, well, I'm not gonna drive because there's no parking around there and it's not that far, but it's also like too far to walk in the winter.
Yeah.
especially at night, which is probably when I would go. So now I'm having a whole debate and we have to regame plan. But anywho, that's the opposite of a win. That's me finding an excuse to not follow through with what I said I was going to do. But we'll regame plan and figure it out.
But maybe it is a win. Okay, hear me out. What if what if it's a win knowing yourself well enough to not waste the money?
That's true. Because I'm like, I'm going to
Like,
buy a 10 punch and then not go because I'm going to be like, well, I'm not walking and I'm not driving. So, yes, I'm not going. So,
yeah, yeah, exactly. And I feel similarly because this particular place that I'm going to be going, they're the only place that is like kid friendly. Like you can bring your kid and they can hang out and watch their iPad or whatever, which is exactly what I plan to do. Don't judge me. Um, because my kid's favorite show taught her the itsy bitsy spider, not me. And
nice.
she can count to 10. She just turned 2.
Sick.
Like what 2-year-old sits there and randomly goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10? Anyways, little brag moment. But um it is not it's not close by. It's gonna be annoying,
Mhm.
honestly, to drive, but it's only 10 times. Gets me
And
out
you
of the
can
house.
make, like, feel like when the things are that far, then you like make it a thing. Like you'll find other things to do around that activity.
Oh, I will
Probably,
be getting coffee on the way home,
I mean, or
100%.
like you'll stop for groceries, or like, it'll be like a whole like errands thing versus when it's not far enough. So we'll see. I guess that's part of my win. My other win, I know you guys are watching this, like, or listening to this, maybe you're watching it, close to Christmas, but I feel like I'm done Christmas shopping for everyone. And I feel like I didn't go broke Christmas shopping, which I don't normally, but I pride myself on being very good at buying gifts. Like people don't have to tell me what they want. I'll just like figure it out myself.
Yeah,
Um, and sometimes I go a little overboard because I'm like, this is the idea I have for someone and I don't care how much it costs. But this year, most of the things I bought were like a Black Friday or Cyber Monday sale. Um, and I feel like I kept everything reasonable and useful to people. I think that's a big thing I focused on this year for Christmas was like, is this going to be like helpful for someone's life versus just like stuff? Because in the current
yeah,
economy, I feel like everyone's going to appreciate things that are actually like useful and things they're not going to have to spend their own money on, you know?
I agree. I agree.
That's my
I'm also done Christmas shopping, mostly because I use Black Friday as my Christmas shopping
yeah.
thing. Actually, that's not true. I still have to buy stuff for my niece and nephews, but they are easy because you know what? Their mom sends me a list
Love
and
that.
I stick to the list because I have a child and I know how important that is to parents.
And
Stick to
that's
the
why you
list.
make a list. Like, why did I send you a list if you're not going to buy me anything off of it? So
Yeah. Anyways, so it was Spotify Wrap Day today.
it
By
sure
the
was.
time
Mine
you
told me I had a nice chuckle. Okay, so this is my first year with Spotify. I'm new here. I was using Apple Music until like
Oh,
last year, but we finally made the switch and listen, there's no turning back. But this was my first year getting a Spotify Wrap. So this morning when I woke up, I was like laying in bed and I was like, I get to be one of the people that has a Spotify Wrap too. Mine has a nice chuckle, and if anyone knows me, they'll know my obsession with like Vampire Diaries or just like the whole, I don't know, the supernatural world is fascinating to me. So my Spotify Wrap told me because it was like it gives you like a personality for your music. Did you get one
mhm,
also?
mhm.
It literally said vampire, and I was a nice chuckle because it was like when it comes to your listening, you like a little bit. You like to embrace a little bit of darkness. You listen to mostly emotional and atmospheric music, which basically
Yeah.
means you're sad and you should pick some happier songs. But I'll take.
Well, um, I've been thinking about Spotify Wrapped for a while because for a little bit we were playing this like toothbrushing song at toothbrushing time before bed, and just because it was a battle. Um, and I was like, listen, I told my husband, I was like, you have to play it on your phone. I do not want this to ruin my Spotify Wrapped.
She's like number one listen song.
But as it was, my kid did take over my Spotify Wrapped because Taylor Swift was my number one artist. And I actually got a little video message from Taylor that came up in my Spotify Wrapped stories, which
I
I
got
thought was
one from
adorable.
Noah Kahn, because if anyone wants to know the vibes of Jill's music, my top artists were like, no one will be surprised by Russ, Noah Kahn, and some other people that are probably no one would know. So if you need some new music peeps, I got
Yeah,
some, but I
mine
was
were also, no surprise, Taylor Swift, Fleetwood Mac, Daisy Jones and the Six, which is basically made up Fleetwood Mac. Um, which I'm not sad about any of those, but um, we did get a Spotify Wrapped for the pod, which I am so stoked about. I haven't looked at it. I texted Jill, it was in my email. I was like, I am not going to open this email until we talk later, which I think is great because it'll be a surprise for all of us. Um, if you don't know, our platform for the pod is hosted by Spotify. Thank you, Spotify.
you don't do anything for us, but thanks, Spotify.
You don't charge us any money, so we're calling that a win.
Shout out to you for being free.
So it starts off and it says, in 2023, people were really, really feeling what you do. Good.
Thanks, guys.
Happy. Ready? Let's take it from the top. Okay. Our top episode was Are You Under Fueling? Which love to hear it.
We
That
love.
is a topic we are both passionate about. If you haven't listened to it yet and you're listening to this one, go back because you might surprise yourself.
Yep. That's a great episode to be a number one, especially because most females are under feeling. So I'm glad you guys listened to that one.
Fun fact, according to this, it was streamed 198% more than our average episodes. Guys,
We gotta go back and listen to that episode and then replicate it. What did we do? What did we put in that episode?
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe you should because you're the one that doesn't listen to our podcast.
You know what? I will. I'll add it to my to-do list. I'll go back and take notes of why that episode did better than everything else, and we'll go from there. I got it. Don't worry.
Okay. Okay. Let's hear it for the new fans. Yeah, let's hear it. Wow. Okay. 79% of our listeners discovered us in 2023.
Nice.
Thank you.
Welcome to the club.
Go back and listen to our previous stuff. The episode that brought them in was fasting, IVs, and Gwyneth Paltrow.
Oh, the trendy topics. We love that.
I always love when we talk about things like that because I think people hear about these things that are happening, and I think people really appreciate our truly honest and educated opinions rather than you're scrolling on TikTok and you see somebody who's like a wellness coach who's like blah blah blah, don't take antibiotics anymore, like something crazy like that, right?
Yeah.
So good to hear. How does it feel to have gone global? I don't know, Spotify. Let me know. We were streamed in 10 different countries.
Let
Oh,
us know if you're listening to this. Can you tell me where you're from? I mean,
yeah.
I care if you're from like Canada and the US, but if you're from somewhere crazy, can you tell us so that we know where you're from?
And Canada was our top country, but only 59%.
So where is everyone else? Where are you? Tell me where you are. I want to know.
Tell us. Most new listeners in the US and Canada, I think that's obvious. Thanks to Jill's TikTok account, probably.
I'm trying.
Our listeners have good taste. What else are they into? Oh. Our listeners' top podcast genres were health and fitness, duh, true crime,
Classic. That's a female classic.
and comedy.
We love that. That's kind of spooky that they can know that. I don't really I understand people just like tracking, but the fact that they can track what our listeners listen to is kind of spooky.
Well, they didn't just track podcasts. They tracked music genres. So you guys like pop, rap, and contemporary country, which I'm not surprised at.
Spotify did tell me my favorite genre was rap. There was not one. Well, I guess Russ is a rap artist, but he was my third artist, and I'm like, how? 3 out of 5, no, 4 out of 5 artists were not rap artists. How is that my top genre? I don't understand.
Yeah, I got post grunge as one of my genres, and I'm like, listen, I don't listen to that much Green Day, but like enough.
Yeah.
Um, Anyways, your listeners definitely told their friends about you, and we appreciate that. Um, it was shared. Oh, people shared our podcast 57% by direct link, 29% by text, 7% via Instagram. That might be us sharing it on Instagram, though. 7% on Facebook. Yeah, wow. Thanks
Thank
for
you.
sharing. Here we go.
We only
Our
ask you to do it every episode, but thanks for actually listening.
And here's one, our most shared episode. And I'm a little disappointed that this didn't really come to life, but everything happens for a reason. It'll come back if it's meant to, which was More Than a Mom project. I still think it's a great idea, and I still love that idea. And I think we just need to keep it like, if you're on YouTube, you can see me. We need to keep it here, maybe even here. Um, I think all three of us just got a little bit busy and wrapped up in our own stuff, which is fine. That's what being an entrepreneur is all about, is doing your thing. But yeah, let us know if you want to hear more about like mom stuff. We can definitely talk about that. Keep going. Most people give us a rating of 5 out of 5,
Sick.
obviously.
Thanks.
Are you a gardener? I don't know what that has to do with anything, but I mean, yes, but only for like the food part of it. Oh, because your podcast has some nice growth this year.
Oh.
We increased followers by 44%. We increased 59% in minutes created, which means we recorded more. We increased our listeners by 32% and our streams by 141%. We
Nice.
grew.
Good
It's
work.
amazing what a little consistency by us goes a
Yeah.
long way.
And thanks to you guys for sharing and listening and being here. We're going to try to keep growing the pod, and hopefully we get similar, if not better, stats for next year. So stay tuned.
We're not done yet. It says,
Oh,
can't forget to give a shout out to your biggest fans.
who's our biggest fans?
We are a top 10 podcast for 84 fans. And this is just Spotify, by the way. So thanks for keeping us in your top 10. I feel like this is like a MySpace thing. Did you have MySpace?
Yeah, well, yeah, I had MySpace. It also reminds me of when Snapchat first came out. It showed you your like top 3 best friends, and it really created drama. I lived. If anyone knows, like actually knows me, I'm nosy as hell. At high school and junior high, Jill lived for seeing who other people's best friends were on Snapchat. So that's what that reminds me of also.
Then you'll be happy to know that we are a top 5 podcast for 54 fans.
Sick.
And says drum roll, please.
You hear my drum roll? Did it work?
We are the #1 podcast for 13 fans. So if you're one of 13, I feel like this is like, you are, I don't know. I feel like we're talking about new heights last episode. We need like a little, like, you know how they call them the 92 percenters? We
Yeah.
are, I don't know. I don't know what we're going to call you guys, but you are 13 of you, gold star.
That means they probably listen like on the day every week. So
At
thanks.
least. Wow.
That's pretty cool.
And our top fans listen to us 5.5 times more than other people. So
Nice.
we're almost done. I can see the little thing is going around. 84% joined you for the first time this year. Welcome. Love you guys. Let's zoom out. What a year. Oh, it's just giving me a little recap of the fans. Cool. Love that. There's some little fireworks. It's cute. It's way different than that regular Spotify. Thanks for sharing your podcast with the world. You're welcome, Spotify. This might be the last one. Speaking of sharing, we made something just for you. Oh. Oh, and there's a little thing. Okay. There's like a little that you can share. So I will grab one of these and we'll share it on our Insta.
To the gram when this podcast goes live.
Yeah.
You
Thanks,
can share it
everyone.
and when it goes live. So
Yeah, I'm gonna share it now, and then we can say when this pod is going to be live.
send it my way and I'll add it to
I
the
will.
graphic too. But
I
yeah,
will.
thanks for hanging with us. It's cool to see. I'm trying to get something I'm working on personally right now is trying to get like out of my head in the sense of thinking everything I do is just like a little thing. Like I'm like, oh, it's just our little podcast and it's just like my little TikTok account. And all my friends are like, enough of that. Stop saying everything's little. So I do still think in the podcast world we are a small fish out here, but it's always cool to get that like number feedback of who's actually listening, who's sharing, how many people we're reaching. And it's always, I think, humbling to know that it does reach people and people do enjoy what we do.
Yeah, and I know like we've told our little how did we get here stories so many times, but I can't help but think that literally 3 years ago, we were at the studio that we both used to work at doing like a Facebook Live jokingly. Somebody said, "You guys should have a podcast." And we were like, haha, whatever. And then 3 years later, like here we are, like having like not just like having we have a weekly scheduled Google Meet where we have topics that we're going to discuss. We have you guys asking us questions. We have all these great reviews. We have like an increase in like almost 200% listenership this year. And we have a whole library, if you will, of topics that not only are important to us, but obviously important to you guys too. And if we don't tell the truth about these topics, who are you going to go to? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's always my thing is I'm like, listen, we're going to tell you it straight. We both keep up on current research. We both are not afraid to change our minds. We're both not afraid to speak up about an unpopular opinion. Um, and the more that we can share, just the better off this tiny little corner of media is going to be,
Yeah.
right? We're not going to be a huge, I don't I don't know. Maybe one day we'll be a huge podcast, but I don't even know if I care.
I think it's cool to see the growth. And it's still every time someone's like, oh, I was listening to the podcast, it like I'm still like, what? Oh yeah, I have one of those. So it's always cool. And I think it's something we've been doing for so long now that it is just part of our routine. And I say it in passing a lot to people. I'm like, oh, on Wednesdays I record podcasts. People are like, you have a podcast? I'm like, yep. And it's just like a cool
Well,
little thing.
and it's interesting because I will be the first person to make fun of a dude that says they have a podcast. I'll be like, oh great, another white dude with a podcast.
That's because there's too many of them. But
It's because we're a minority. And I still don't even know females are a minority. I don't even know, and in the health and fitness world, we are definitely a minority. I don't know any other female hosted I don't listen to them if there are any.
I know one that's based out of Sherwood Park, but I will not name any names because I will never listen to it. So
I don't think they're very regular. But I the only female fitness based ones that I listen to are all from like physios. So yeah. Anyways.
yeah.
Anyways,
I had something to say. I had something to say, but now I don't remember. Guess it doesn't matter. Oh yeah. If there's any podcast episodes you guys want us to cover, I know we always say this, but if there's any topics you see other people doing or whatever it may be, also I would love to in 2024, I'm putting this out there so the podcast can hold us accountable too. Would love to start bringing guests back on the podcast. So if there's anybody that you guys are curious about or have in your network of people that you would like to have on the pod, I know we kind of like guess slip for a while because everyone's busy, but I would love to bring some guests back on the pod in the new year. So let us know if there's anyone you want to see.
Yes, within reason. The sound bite in my head is, what would happen if you just called Taylor up? We can't do that. We won't do that. That would be cool though.
Yeah.
I would like to know her fitness routine. But there was a sort of a mini topic, a question that came up, and it was actually in regards to, we actually have two other episodes that broached this topic. The question was, um, is technology a crutch, distraction, or a benefit in modern activity tracking? Now, if you've been here for a while, we actually have two episodes. One of them is called What's the Deal with My Activity Tracker? And the second one is about the metrics of said activity trackers, and which ones you should and shouldn't pay attention to. But what piqued my brain of that question was the word distraction, because I can picture in my head you starting your watch before every single set and recording the strength training or hit workout, or I don't know what else other settings it has, weightlifting. Um, and I've never done that. I only use the fitness part of my watch for like steps, heart rate, HRV, sleep, and like running. Um, so I don't actually know what you get when you ask it to track your strength training session in whatever capacity it is. Um, I think I would always forget, and then I would be like, "Oh no, I forgot." So I don't actually know what I did today, except that I write everything down in a notebook because I'm 100 years old in the weight room, and yeah, I don't know. What are your thoughts?
About nodding because she is 100 years old. But, um, yeah, I think we take our fitness trackers a little too seriously as a whole. And I don't say that as like shade to anyone, but I just think we all got to freaking relax a little with how serious we take our fitness tracking. Like, I love my client to death, and I think she listens to the pod. So if you're listening to this, I love you. I watch multiple of my clients be like, "Oh my god, is she talking about me?" But I've like seen clients and people in general like stop mid set because their watch, because I know Garmin's and Fitbits, some of them like track your reps, which I don't really know how. I think you have to choose the exercise and then it'll count your reps too. But like I've had people stop mid set and be like, "Oh, I didn't reset my reps," or like my watch isn't counting my reps. Like, I just think we need to take it a little less seriously as a whole. Like, your reps
Mm-hmm.
still count whether your watch tracked them or not. And I like to use my watch to track my workouts, but a friendly reminder that an Apple Watch is a smartwatch that has fitness tracking capabilities,
Mm-hmm.
not an exercise watch that has smartwatch capabilities. Like, it wasn't designed for workouts, it was designed to mirror your phone. Basically, it's a small phone on your wrist. So it's never going to be 100% accurate. And I think when we get too into that, that's when it becomes a distraction. Like, oh my god, I need to stop my set because it didn't count my reps. Or like, the amount of times I hear people say like, oh, it didn't track my workout, so now it doesn't even count. Like, I use it to track my workouts just because I like to. I like to close my rings every day. I like to have that reminder of like, oh, I did 60 minutes of activity today. But if I get halfway through my workout, and there's many moments where I'm like, oh, didn't start my watch, and then I'll start it then. It's not like I have a whole panic because I missed half my workout.
Yeah. And I don't know how it gets like the reps, like me, like I could see how the altimeter could figure out like bicep curls or like a press or something, but like if
How
you're
is it
doing like,
counting your straight leg deadlifts? Your arms don't move.
yeah, but I could see the altimeter feeling the watch move back and forth.
I guess.
Because that's how it counts. That's how your watch knows your like your cadence. If you're running and you don't have a foot pod, fun fact, if your arms are all out of whack,
It's the same on
it's gonna be
like
off. But if you were doing like, let's say, like hamstring curls, like
or
seated,
leg press.
you're not like one.
Yeah.
Like it's oh, I did bicep curls yesterday and I am sore. Anyways, yeah, I really good point. And I know that we made this in the previous episode, so definitely go back and listen. But an Apple Watch and a Garmin are not the same. Um, the technology is very different, as far as like the altimeter that's involved, as far as the like heart rate capabilities and like all those things, and the satellites that they use. You're gonna, if you're running with it, it's gonna use different satellites, right? Garmin has their own that they're bouncing off of to see where you are in the world, because they're a huge thing. um but yeah, I would be annoyed having to start and stop my watch every time. I know I have a client who does this too, and I only know that she does it because she sends me videos um, of her lifts. If you want to do it, it's fine. It's I do notice it. I just think it's interesting. But if you are listening, could you send me some of that data so I can just see what it shows you? I know she listens, so I know I'm gonna get a text message after this episode airs.
Yeah, I just don't think it's that serious. Like, it's not make or break. It's not really giving you like, I promise you, you can count your reps without your watch. I promise you, your workout still counts. The calorie tracking is never that accurate, anyways. Like, I have clients
Yeah.
sometimes that are like, well, my watch said, I had this conversation with a client the other day. She's like, well, my watch said I only burned 300 calories, but the workout class I've had said I burned like 500 calories, or it said I was only in zone 4 for like 3 minutes of my workout. And I'm like, yeah, it's technology. It's never going to work properly. It's never going to work perfectly. And like, it's not the end of the world. Also, zone 4 is like pretty hard to maintain. So if you're in there for any minutes of your workout, that's cool.
Also, let's not forget that your watch is using math to determine your zones,
Yeah.
where your body is using science. The
Yeah.
two are not created equal. And I know that I've been on this rant when we did those episodes before, so I'm not going to do it again. But let's just say that your watch, your math zones will be inaccurate to as much as 10 to 20 beats per minute, which is
And
a lot.
I had that conversation too. Like, you can make your watches work for you. Like, if it's really pissing you off that you're supposed to be in zone 4 for 8 minutes and it's
Oh,
only recording 2, go in and change your zones. You can go in
yes.
and lower your heart rate. Like, if those things really bother you, and I think if it's like, I had this conversation with a client this morning, set goals that are easy wins for you. Like, make it, I know I'm going to hit 60 minutes of activity every day because I own a dog, but I like to keep my exercise goal at 60 minutes because it makes me feel good and it's an easy
Yeah.
win. I know I'm going to do more than that every day because by the time I work out and walk my dog once, I'm way over 60 minutes. But give yourself those easy wins. So if you're like, every day you're like, oh my God, my watch didn't track this, or I didn't hit that zone, or I didn't hit my exercise goal, change it. Make it
Yeah.
lower, make it more doable to hit so you're not feeling defeated every single day because of the watch on your wrist.
And I would say look at your watch with a clinical eye. Like if, so for example, today I woke up and my watch said that my HRV was unbalanced, which is in the orange, which we want it to be green. Okay. So without getting into too much. Um, and I was like, you know what? I didn't sleep very well last night, so that's probably why. But also I thought I might do a little workout today, but now I'm just not going to, because I am going to go to CrossFit tomorrow. And I know that if I do this and add stress and then add stress again tomorrow, I'm going to be even lower, further into the orange. So probably just take today to recover and, eat well and try to have a better sleep. It was not my fault that I didn't sleep well. So what are you going to do? The other thing I was going to say about the zones is the only true way to find your zones is to go to a lab and do your VO2 max test and get your zones given to you by the person doing the test. Now, here's the kicker. Your zones for, let's say, running and like cycling different.
Also, VO2 maxes
Different.
are not fun, so you probably don't
No.
want to go do that.
As
So
somebody who has done them for both cycling and running, because at the time I was trying to be serious about doing things, um, first of all, not a fun test. Second of all, you might find that your capabilities in each zone are different sport to sport. Most people's are. So if you've done like a VO2 max, like running, and you try to apply it to your cycling zones, it's going to look a lot different. Zone 4 on a bike looks a heck of a lot different than zone 4 on a run. So if you're trying to do different sports, or if you're trying to use the zones given to you by math, aka what's come up on your Garmin or what's come up on Zwift or what's come up on any of those things, it's probably not accurate. So just know that like you can do ish and you can be like, yes, I am giving a zone 4 type effort. And if that's good enough, that's good enough. Honestly, for most people, it's going to be.
also, your VO2 maxes change all the time. Like if you want
Yes.
consistent numbers and you want to actually be following that, you need to be doing your VO2 every 6 months, every year, whatever, which is
And
not fun and not cheap. So you probably don't actually want to take it that seriously.
and let me just say that the score that a watch like this gives you on your VO2 max, not accurate.
A VO2
Mine,
max is like a whole thing, and we can talk about this another day because I doubt anyone's going to actually go figure it out. But I think it's important to know the actual science that goes behind figuring those things out accurately. Your watch is not doing it accurately.
currently, my watch thinks I am in like an excellent category, and I'm like, man, you should have known me like 10 years ago,
Yeah.
honestly. Um,
But
but
yeah, I just think like our watches don't have the capabilities to be as accurate for how seriously some people take the watches. Like
yeah,
it's not accurate to begin with. It's not consistent. It's not any of these things. So like just take it a little less seriously.
yeah,
Use it in a way that feels positive for you. I have a few clients recently actually that have stopped using like fitness trackers altogether, just because they don't find it's positive, and that's fine. Like if you find yourself tied to your watch
yeah.
24/7, get rid of it. It's going to be uncomfy and it's going to be weird because you're going to be like, oh my God, I worked out and my watch doesn't know I did it. But like if you find yourself obsessing over the numbers a watch that isn't accurate is giving you, we got to make some changes.
But also, let me just say, also, nobody will gaslight you harder than your Garmin. If you know, you know, because sometimes you if you do like a run, maybe about 5 or 10 minutes into your run, a little thing will pop up and tell you where your performance is, like if you're improving based on like heart rate and pace or whatever. And the worst is when it pops up and it's like unproductive, and you're like, I'm freaking running
You're like,
literally right
"Guys."
now.
Yeah, I got a nice little reminder from my watch on Saturday because I was in Banff, so I drove home and my parents had my dog, so I didn't walk her. So like I walked around the town of Banff, but that's not the same pace I walked my dog at. And then at like 10 p.m., my watch was like, if you go for a 56-minute brisk walk, you'll complete your exercise goal. And I said, bro, it's 11 p.m. We're not doing that. So
Yeah, man, the amount of times that Garmin has told me I'm unproductive, I'm like, listen,
don't worry about it. Okay. Sometimes
I
you just want to look at it and be like, mind your business. Okay. Don't worry
yeah,
about it. But
yeah.
yeah, I don't think they're unproductive. I think they can be a distraction, but like I said, I think the common theme with fitness trackers and smartwatches is just take it less seriously. It's just a tool. It isn't the end all be all.
And the other thing I will say is, um, try not to use it to compare it to somebody else. I know they set us up for that with having friends or connections on Garmin, or having like Strava is a whole thing where people are posting their workouts or their runs or their bikes, and people giving you thumbs up, and you can see people's data and things like that. But like, if you're getting in your head about it, if you're trying to outdo somebody else, um, bring the focus back to you. And because honestly, unless you're in an actual race, there's really no competition in anything. Um,
And also
and
you're my safety PSA for the females that post their GPS trackers or use Strava or whatever. One, be careful of who you have as friends on those apps, and be careful of where you're posting it. The most male thing I see on the internet is screenshots of their running path, and it's the same every day. Like, I don't say this to like scare you, especially if you're just like a regular person on social media that like has a private account and just has friends and family, probably fine. But you will never catch me posting my GPS tracked anything on the internet, especially because I have a few walking paths, but I don't need people knowing my exact walking path every day. And that's just like my friendly reminder to the females, especially that choose to GPS track their things, is be careful who you're choosing to
Yeah.
share with.
So if you're a Strava user, you can set privacy zones. Mine is like my entire neighborhood. So unless I'm like in the river valley, you'll see me go for like a 10K run and there'll be like a kilometer stretch that you'll see, which is totally fine by me. But yes, also, I have my Strava set to private, so you have to request to follow me, and I don't really let a ton of people follow me. You can't see what I'm doing anyway, so it doesn't really
I
matter.
just
But
have a nice laugh
yeah,
every time a male throws up a screenshot of their same running path every morning. So I'm like, oh, to be a male, like to not even think about, especially like the coaches I see, or I just like, I know a lot of people that throw up their running path
yeah,
like every morning. And I'm like, oh, to be a male and not worry about who's going to also show up on your running path next time. So
yeah. And you know what? There was like a TikTok that was going around a while ago that this guy was like, "Yeah, I just threw up a GPS location with like, who wants to come camping with me?" And for like strangers to like meet people, and this and a whole bunch of women stitched it and was like, "I would literally like this is a death sentence for me."
I don't know if I've ever told this story in full on the pod, but I've told parts of it. A big reason why you will never see me location tag anything unless I'm not home. Like if I'm not in this city, I will location tag because I'm not in this city.
Because you want people to feel bad that they're at home and you're not.
Yeah, I'm like, haha, I went on vacation. But like, for example, when I was in Banff, I location tagged that I was in Banff. First of all, because like I didn't tell you what hotel I was staying at, but also you'll never catch me location tagging in my hometown because I've had men on the internet show up at gyms I've worked out at. So just be
No.
cautious of how much you're giving people on the internet. But yeah, if you have any questions about like your fitness trackers, or you're like, should I care about this? Should I not care about that? Again, we have 2 other episodes, so make sure you've listened to those first, but we're always happy to dive more into it for you. And yeah, just don't take it so seriously. Your workout still counts. You're going to be fine.
I was gonna say, moral of the story is track, don't track, whatever you want to do, but don't take yourself too seriously because you're probably not a professional athlete.
No, I make sure it
Um,
feels productive. I say this to clients all the time, whether it's tracking weight or taking progress pictures or using a fitness tracker or tracking food. If it doesn't feel productive for you, you're allowed to stop doing it. Make sure the way you choose to track your progress and get feedback feels productive and is not just like this big bummer on your day every day.
yeah, yeah, take care of your mental load. And I think that's probably a good place to wrap up. So, as always, if you have more specific questions about activity trackers, first of all, go listen to the first two. Second of all, write in, ask us your specific questions. If you have other topics you want to hear about, please let us know. People you want us to talk to, um, anything like that, you can find us on Instagram. It's at Lattes and Lifting Podcast. You can comment on the YouTube video if you're watching this, or you can answer the Spotify question if you're listening on Spotify. Um, you can find me at JLack Fitness on all the socials.
You can find me at coachjill.april on Instagram and TikTok, and we will catch you guys next time.
Bye.